Ask Me Anythings from Coachdotme. I'm Kendra Kinnison, your host and the CEO of Coachdotme. In a bit, we'll be joined by Ramon Williamson, another excellent coach and longtime member of the Coachdotme community. In particular, I want you to hear Ramon's history, how he thinks about package design. In other words, how he thinks about setting up his interactions with clients and how that informs his marketing. So you'll hear from Ramon in just a bit. Use the chat here in the live event. Just keep it all in one thread. I think that works better than the Q&A. At least for a small group of presenters, it makes it easy for us to find your questions. So if you're here, go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know that our technology is working well and that you can hear us. I know I've had some technical difficulties this week. I spent all morning sorting them out, and I think I've got a stable connection now. So I see Ramon. Let's bring him to the stage. And if you're here in the chat, go ahead and say hi. Good morning, Ramon. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going? How's it going?
Well, how are you?
Hey, great to be here.
Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. We appreciate you.
Yes, it's an honor to be here, and congratulations.
Thank you.
You're the big cheese now.
Something like that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's a fun community and group and something that I think I'm driving everybody around me a little bit crazy because I was already pretty passionate about this and now I get to think about it a whole lot more often, which makes me dangerous and probably a bit annoying, but that's okay. All right. So Safa, Ella, thank you for being here, introducing yourselves. We'll get to questions soon. Ramon, I want to give a little bit of context. I know you well. You were one of the first folks I wanted to get on when I saw the types of questions that coaches were asking. Will you tell us a little bit about your background with Coachdotme, and how you think about coaching, big picture?
Yeah, thank you, Kendra. I think coaching is the most amazing way to get from where you are to where it is you want to be in your life. I think it's a powerful tool of transformation. And I think what Coachdotme is doing with asynchronous text coaching is the next phase of coaching in the context of reaching a broader audience worldwide, where we empower people to not just dream, but make their dreams real. And it all begins with a simple step that we can coach that becomes the spark for many things in people's lives. I originally got started in coaching in 1986, and it was not something that was very well known at the time. People got the idea of having, for example, an athletic coach, or they were familiar with something they felt like successful executives and CEOs had available to them. But the idea that a person could have a coach and that could somehow improve their game in life or work was a brand new idea. And I was it was a fortuitous moment in my life where I was either going to go into speaking and leadership in some spiritual capacity, or I was going to work with people, as a life coach. And so I ordered a set of business cards that simply said, had my name and then success coach and my telephone number, and I was in business. And I had the good fortune of connecting with a number of other people at the time who were thinking along the same lines, and we made everything else up uh, as we went, and it has worked out. It's been my life's work. It's what I'm most passionate about. It's been my core business since 1986, and then in 1999 I got online, and that was a whole different experience for me. I just thought it was the greatest thing ever. But how do you do it? It took me a number of years to sort of figure it out, and I started with, one page on the internet with an email autoresponder in 1999, and I would coach people through the 5 emails that they got. There was something very specific I walked them through in the emails, and I would invite them to have a call with me. And over that period of time, more than 30,000 people visited that page and gave me that information. They told me their top 3 goals. It was not just about the email, but I said, hey, tell me your top 3 goals over the next 90 days, and I'll help you. And so that built my coaching practice. In 2014, 2015, when I think I've got the dates right. I'm getting to be an old man now, so so I have to double check my dates, But
you and me both. We start going back decades, and it's like, oh,
yeah.
wait a minute.
So so there was this thing that Tony, your predecessor, was doing that he called Lift. And I said, I like that. I want to be lifted. I want to lift other people. And so let me see what this is about. And I always understood the fact that people underestimate what they can accomplish, or they overestimate what they can accomplish, say, in 90 days or 6 months and 9 months. Everybody feels like it could change the world. But we greatly underestimate what we can accomplish, say, in just a few weeks with week over week accountability, how much progress that we could actually make. And, the power of Coachdotme is, small steps that make a big difference in your life. And so when I saw it at the time, I was wanting to lose weight. And I had gone through a season where my eating and health was just crazy. And I started down this path with the slow carb diet. And long story short, I was able to lose 70, I think it was 73 or 75 pounds on the slow carb diet. And I, this was a big deal. This was a big deal. And that was one of the habits that was being coached on the Coachdotme app at the time. That was one of the big habits. And so anyway, when I saw this, that you could coach someone by text, essentially, in an asynchronous way, meaning that you didn't have to be on the phone one-to-one with them, because that was what my whole coaching was about, is just being on the phone with people, or being on Skype is what it was back in the day. And then before that, there were these like telebridges that you would get on, and then the other person would be on it, or you would just call them on the phone. And so when I saw that, I said, this is a breakthrough, because I can literally coach anywhere in the world. I can coach on, my schedule, and the person can actually have a focus that moves them forward in the form of a habit that can literally change your life. I believe everything you want to be, everything you want to do is a habit. And the starting point of that, and how we can empower people to get a breakthrough in their life with Coachdotme, was something that it is deeply exciting to me. And I think really, Kendra, we are just scratching the surface in terms of what's possible. I think we were ahead of our time back in 2015. I think that there's a convergence happening in the world right now where uh, where it was almost like when I got started in coaching in 1986, people kind of felt like, okay, this is an interesting idea, but it wasn't quite an idea whose time had come at that point. It
Yes.
took it took a while for it to sort of catch up.
So I want to dive deep here with you. One, a bit selfishly, because you're maybe one of the few people on earth that's as passionate as I am about this particular topic. But I want to put a pin. So I know we've got folks that are interested in, and I think you call it hybrid coaching, where you blend the chat coaching and the phone calls. So I want to put a pin in that and be sure we get to it, because I know we've got some folks in the audience that are interested in that. But coming from a coach that had done the traditional, as you said, Skype or phone, old school phone calls, just picking up the phone and then adapting to chat coaching, can you talk a little bit about how you thought about transferring those skills, and were you convinced right away that chat coaching could actually be effective, that you could actually help a client through chat coaching? And then the third part, let's address the price points. Can chat coaching at the price point that it's at for Coachdotme, or a similar, very accessible level of service, can it actually help the client and be a solid business model for a coach?
Okay. So again, I told you I was old. Uh,
All right, so let's go.
so,
Let's go three layers. And Safa's going to keep us accountable for being on track. But first
yeah,
and foremost, did you find that you were able to actually help clients with chat coaching?
Okay. Yeah, I remember now. Actually, I'd like to answer that first question you posed, because you said, how was it to make the transition, if I'm remembering correctly?
Yes.
How was it to make the transition from being what you might call a conventional coach to someone who is coaching? This is a very, very important thought, because the idea of chat coaching 30 years ago uh, would have been seen as heretical in the coaching world, because it was thought that coaching could only happen in the same way that therapists at one point thought that therapy could only happen, in that room, on that couch, in real time. Okay. So, and a lot of the early coach people came out of therapy, and they came out of other helping professions. I came out of business, and so I had a little bit of an advantage in the way I thought about coaching, because I think it's important for you to get how you think about coaching. See, that you've got to make a shift in your mindset, and that shift wasn't exactly the easiest thing for me. I wasn't a very good, well, I wasn't a very good coach to begin with. I don't think. I just understood how human beings change, because I think coaching in a way is more about, uh, people would argue it's how you say it. Um, yeah, but it's also what to say. You understand what I mean? It's like, I don't want to get off on a rabbit trail, but what I want to say is, for me, it wasn't exactly the easiest transition, because in a way, it took me as the coach out of the mix in terms of how I conventionally thought about coaching at that particular
Yes,
time.
it lets the process and the accountability
That's it.
do more of the heavy. You really just put a process in place and just keep that process going, and the client interacting with that process will turn the wheel and
And
and, and
that's
make
the innovation.
and make the
Yeah.
progress. Yes, but it's much perhaps less rewarding, or doesn't feel like we're doing as much as coaches than when we're on the phone with them and we say something profound and they say, "Oh my gosh, that changed my life." Whereas if we have a message and they take an action and they think, "Oh my goodness, if I can continue doing this action, it will change my life." The coach is maybe minimized. The coach is not the hero in that journey. The client is the hero in that journey.
Exactly. And interestingly, that's how it should be anyway. And I really believe that is that what people want most is someone who will make them do what they can. And nobody likes to be told what to do by another human being. But if you put a path in front of people and you make the steps small enough and doable enough, they'll at least take the first step. And when they take the first step, they'll take the second step and the third step. And all of a sudden, they realize that they're making more progress than they've ever made before. And so it wasn't the easiest transition, but it was because you in order to coach today, and I think this has always been true, but I think in terms of coaching today, you've got to be able to take your ego out of it. This is one of the reasons that I think packaging and positioning your coaching offer is so important. Because it's not about you as a personality. It's not about you as the coach. It's about the client. It's about the client's problem and frustration and what they want to do, and their fears, their desires, their dreams. And when you place that at the center of you come at it in an entirely different way, and people get a radically different result. They own it in a way that I think they don't own it when they feel like somehow the secret is in you. No, the secret is in them. And you are teaching them how to access that through the power of the coaching of the habit framework. It's a framework for transformation. It's a framework, a process that you're actually coaching. So in many ways, you're not actually coaching the client, though you're really coaching the framework.
Yes.
And that's a subtle distinction that really, I think, made me a better coach. And then having participated in that formal certification with you, it really caused me to shift, in a way, because then the thing you say, well, can this really make a difference in clients' lives? Absolutely. Absolutely it can, because the secret of your future is hidden in what you do daily. The secret of your future is in that baby step, whether it's with your finances, whether it's in your relationships. It's that 1% difference that's not 1%, 1%, 1% over a period of, whether it's, and there's this ongoing debate about how long it takes to have it. Takes a habit. Does it take 7 days? Does it take 21 days? Does it take 30 days? Well, it takes as long as it takes. And if you accept that, the real value is in the daily process of becoming more of the kind of person that you want to be. Now, is it a good financial model? Can you actually make a living? Yesterday at the big table, which is the mastermind that I lead for clients, there's a very large number of people in that mastermind who want to be me, quote unquote. And so I've started having this conversation. Well, how do you go from 0 to 10K a month? Okay. Now, I don't want to offend people, but we are actually doing this work to make our living. Now that may be obvious to people in our world, but it's been a raging debate in the last 36 years that I've been in coaching, and there have been a large number of people who have, struggled with receiving money for the work and receiving larger sums. So I said, I'm just going to come right out and talk about it. How do you go from 0 to 10K a month with a service online?
And I appreciate that you picked a number. Not that that number's magic or not, but I think it does give just a scale to the conversation.
Exactly.
And I think that's a pretty fair number that would represent a strong income for a coach.
Life-changing income.
Yeah, anywhere in the world. So
anywhere in the world. So except California.
Well,
$10,000 a month will get you a Matchbox and one meal a day. But seriously, is it possible? Yes. Is it possible with your current way of thinking? That's the real question you've got to ask yourself. It probably isn't. Because if it were, you would already be there. So you've got to look at yourself, and you've got to really address, sorry about that. Let me put this on mute. That's webinar etiquette. You've got to really address three fundamental pillars. You've got to address the pillar of preparation, which includes your mindset. You've got to really be honest with yourself about how you think about yourself, how you think about what you have to offer, how you think about money. Do you really believe in coaching as a methodology for human transformation and improvement? Do you really believe that? Are you a product of the product?
Right. Have you experienced it, receiving it as a client? And I think even a fair amount, have you experienced it as a coach, and
yes,
this is one of the things we try to do in the new habit coaching certification program is actually before you graduate, have people actually coach. So you can see, oh my gosh, this works. What feels like, I think for a lot of coaches, I see this in every cohort. There's 2 or 3 different, and I had a coach in the last cohort, Malika, asked amazing questions. We'll have to get her on the AMA one time just to ask questions, because she was phenomenal. But she said, where do coaches get stuck? She asked a few different versions of that question, and I'll share my hypothesis, and you can chime in. I think new coaches get stuck in the belief, as you said, can I as a coach, and can this process that, man, it feels really simple, can this process really transform lives? I think new coaches get stuck there. Traditional coaches that are thinking about adding chat coaching or shifting to chat coaching, I think get stuck in, can this be done without really long conversations? How do you do this without really long conversations, or going deep, or spending a whole lot of time interacting with the client, and yet you're only charging a fraction of what you would charge for those live interactions? I think those two different struggles, similar but different, in that they both relate to this belief in can it be effective, and can I execute on this consistently?
Okay, so this is very interesting, because I wrote down something here on my phone just as you were talking, because I didn't want to forget this. I didn't want to not mention this. Okay. So the answer to the question is this a viable financial model or opportunity? The answer is yes. The answer is yes, yes, yes. The question becomes is what's your mindset and your belief about it? A coach without a coach is dangerous. So I want to let that sink in. A coach without a coach is dangerous. Because you start believing your own, you start drinking your own Kool-Aid, you start believing your own testimonials. Okay. Okay.
As opposed to just being a shepherd of a process
Yeah.
and a system.
Exactly. You are it's almost like you're taking the person's hand and putting them in the hand of the process, and you are supporting that process. I heard an interesting quote. I have to find who originally said it, but on the internet, that's like, I'm just gonna say I originally said it back in the day, like 1992 or something, when they were first figuring it out. Anyway, that we need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. And I think that if we have that mindset that we are supporting this transformation that the client has already made a commitment to, and we are just reminding them, we're sort of keeping them on track in the process. And then we're helping them accelerate, because I think the value of coaching is people realize they come in for one thing and then it impacts 2 or 3 other things that they didn't even expect. And I think that's the difference between a good coach and a great coach. A great coach finds the opening or intuits the opening of the 2 or 3 things. And just one question now just opens up the client's world in a way where they say, hey, the root of the issue is this. And that solves, it's like playing that, what do they call that thing? They have a place near where I'm living now where you can go and you can stack these blocks up real high, and you have to put the blocks in just right. Okay, because one little block at the bottom, and you don't know which block it is, but if that block is not right, or you pull it out, or something happens, the whole thing crumbles down. Well, it's often like that in the context of life. There are often things at the foundation of a personal foundation level of a human being that habits really impact, and just that one linchpin idea or thing just messes up their world for the better. And just there's a whole transformation that happens. Yeah.
And habits let us find that, right? So conventional coaching might go searching for that in conversation, and the client might try to predict what their obstacle is or what it might be. Habit coaching kind of says, we're not really going to predict. We're just going to try to do this little thing every day, and then we're going to pay attention. Were we able to do the little thing every day, or did something get in our way of doing the little thing every day? And if it's in our way of doing the thing every day, then we're going to start to peel the onion back and figure out what that might be. And you usually end up with a very different than what the client predicted in the beginning was their challenge.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think from a conventional coaching perspective, I've worked with more than 18,000 individual and group clients in my career. And I've had, likely double that in strategy sessions and peripheral, coaching conversations, whether in masterminds or one-on-one. And I can tell you that 90% of the world's population isn't ready for one-on-one coaching. But 90% of the world's population is ready for text-based coaching. Most people get in a coaching conversation and they are talking about themselves and they are not really telling the truth. They're conveying things to you that are true, but it's not the truth. And you end up having to take a long time with them to actually get around to the truth. So the truth with text coaching is that there's one thing that can give you the highest ROI in your life at the moment. You're either doing the one thing consistently or you aren't. There's no conversation. There's no debate. There's no excuse. There's no reason why. You just are doing it or you're not. Okay. So in Mastermind, we have people, did you accomplish your SMART goals from the previous week? Yes or no? No explanation, no excuse, no opinion. And what you do is you empower the client to think for themselves. You empower the client to ask and answer transforming questions that they would never answer with the voice of the coach in their head. Now, coaching in a conventional sense works great when you're in performance. I had a client, for example, in Las Vegas for the world champion, the Jiu-Jitsu World Championship this past weekend in Las Vegas. And I had to say some tough stuff to that guy. Okay, that he needed conventional coaching. Habit coaching wasn't gonna work. He was gonna get his butt kicked in the ring with habit coaching. Habit coaching now got him
the time for that got him there. The time for that is done.
Yeah. Habit coaching got him in a steady flow where he was doing. I think we got him from. He was doing with my +1 push-ups. I really got to put that on Coach Me because that thing works. That +1 push-ups, he went from doing something like 10 or 15 push-ups the first day to where he was doing, by the time he went to Las Vegas, he was doing something like 70. So that small habit got him up to that point. But then there was so this brings us to the conversation of, is hybrid coaching something to consider? And should you only coach the habits via text? And this really comes down to, it comes down to what you're coaching, first of all. And then it also has a very interesting impact on the financial model. Okay. And again, it's all based on the belief that coaching is a methodology for unlocking and launching people into the next place in their life. Okay. And there's a lot of people that'll say it fancier than that, but fundamentally, it's a methodology. It's a tool for human transformation and improvement. Okay. And it works on a whole bunch of different levels. So hear this, my old contemporaries. You can coach people through a book that you write. You can coach people through a course that you put online. You can coach people through a video. You can coach people through asynchronous text. When you open up to that possibility, and it's all about the client, you begin to think, what serves this client best? And you start removing anything that hinders their focus and their progress in the because you got to remember, this is something that took me a while to really grasp. It's going to sound crazy when I say it, but clients actually have a life outside of the coaching conversation. I just felt like if you paid me this kind of money, you should just take one day off a week, to work on your life, but they don't. A part of what you help them do as a coach is to make room in their life today for their future. Right. This is why I believe everybody Okay, and notice I said everybody. I didn't say some people. I didn't say people in America, people in Canada, people in North America, people in first. What do they call it? First something. I don't
First
even know what.
world, yeah.
Yeah. No, well, a lot of the second world, in my observation, it has got it on the first world. They're so much further ahead in some areas. I mean, we need to stop all that business. But I think in reality, the thing that we need to realize, everybody needs to do set priorities for your day. I think that is the super habit in my mind. I think that is the one habit that if you can master that one habit, you can make room for anything else in your life. Which brings me to this thing of hybrid, because I know you want to talk about packaging. So on Coachdotme, coach one habit. Don't coach two habits, coach one habit. Okay, so Kendra, you started with arguably the strangest habit in the history of Coachdotme. Okay.
I hate this, but I secretly love this. Because if you could start here, you could start anywhere. I'm just gonna.
Yeah. This. It's one of those, like, for real. I'm not even gonna. I'm not gonna embarrass you. I'm not gonna call you out.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I love it. I love that you know this. This is great. This is great.
But the idea that you were teaching a person to floss daily, one tooth. I'm just not going to say anything else, that because we're recording right now. I want to honor the CEO. I want to be invited back. I want to. I don't want the algorithm to kick me into oblivion behind this conversation. So, but here's what I'm really saying: pick one habit, and it's not one habit that you're going to feel, oh, I'm the coach. It's one habit that will actually make a difference in the life of your client. We call them keystone habits around Coachdotme. But what is that one keystone habit that when your client practices that thing consistently, it not only improves their life in that thing, but it opens the door for where they're going in their life. So you often have to look at, we talk a lot about, for example, in the certification, you're going to go through a process, what for whom. Okay, so I talked about it a little bit different, and I've actually added something to it, because you talk about the what for whom, you get what for whom, and it basically it positions you as to solve a specific problem for a certain kind of client where you become the only choice. Then what you've got to do in public is you've got to actually understand their frustrations. You've got to understand their fears, their desires, their dreams, and you've got to speak about that, not coaching.
Yes.
You got to speak about the problem that they're facing, not necessarily what you feel like is your solution. And I think this is why a lot of coaches are struggling to get clients, because they're just showing up with the wrong paradigm in the marketplace, and therefore the wrong actions. And it doesn't make you very attractive. It doesn't attract clients to you where they come seeking you out. And so we can talk about that, or we can talk about that in a different conversation. But coach one habit on Coachdotme. So look at where your client is now and ask yourself, what is the one habit that if they were to practice that habit on a consistent basis, it would become the foundation for all of the other things that they ultimately want to accomplish. So for me and the kind of client that I coach, it's set priorities for your day. That's the mechanism by which they get what they want, that they solve the problems that they have. I don't talk so much about the mechanism. I talk about the problem. I talk about the frustration. I talk about, for example, waking up with dread and ending your day feeling, wondering whatever actually got done today. And all of those those are the problems. Those are the frustration. That's the language. So one of the best reasons to coach 5 people fast whether you give them your coupon on Coachdotme or just sort of corral your followers and well-wishers to experience this thing with you, is that you get to hear their language. You get to hear how they are talking about the problem. Okay. And when you integrate that into your public conversation, people connect with you. They say, yeah, that's how I'm feeling. That's where I'm stuck. That's where I'm stopped. And so coach one habit as a basis. From there, it gets very juicy because you begin to realize that there's some preparation, there's some understanding, that if the client had that understanding, they would be a better client for themselves. And so then you say, okay, so this is what I did with set priorities for your day. I said, this is the super habit. So I came up with something, the super habit. And I said, I'm going to coach the super habit. And people, the mechanism is set priorities for your day. But the conversation, the story, the brand promise was around this idea of super habit. And then super habit evolved because people couldn't figure that out. What is the super habit? Is that like tiny habits? Is that like atomic habits? Is that like, they couldn't figure out what the super habit was. So then a client helps me get the breakthrough. See, being in conversations, yes. Coaching people, get into coaching. You can't be a worse coach than I was in 1986, and I didn't turn out so bad. Okay, get in there and start coaching people and listen more than you talk. So the clients started talking to me. I started asking different questions, because I wasn't trying to get them to just understand the super habit and practice my secret methodology and use my one sheet and conform to my cult of productivity. I opened up and I started listening. And so what I noticed is that most of the stuff that was making the client stuck and stop was inside of themselves versus something that was outside. So then I moved from super habit to zero resistance productivity.
Okay.
All of a sudden now people said, ooh, what's that? What's that? Because intuitively they knew, at the end of the day, it's really something in me that's stuck or stopped, not something that's necessarily out there in the world. Yeah, this and this and this is not working, but ultimately, it's something inside of me. And they begin to see that. Okay. And that led to me talking about that. So now what I do is because all human transformation is based on this. If you want to make a killer course, a killer book, or a killer one sheet in Google Docs that's going to help your client, you got to cover these three areas. You got to cover their thinking. What is the prerequisite thinking that's required to make the habit stick? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the fuel is their self-image, not willpower. Willpower only works on Monday. Okay. Their self-image and their identity has to change. They have to see themselves as a certain kind of person. And that begins with their belief. Because the only reason they're not doing it now is because they're filled with lies. So you got to get them filled with good beliefs. So what are the 2 or 3 beliefs that are the foundation? So they're thinking, then the approach, okay? And then, because the thing we talk about in habits is the best place to put a habit is where?
Next to a habit you're already doing.
Next to an existing habit. Well, you may think, oh, that's just a little saying that somebody came. No. That's a night and day difference in the result that a person is going to get. That's a night and day resistance. That is a resistance killer.
Yep.
Stacking habits dramatically reduces resistance and increases exponentially the stick rate with a client. So now you address the thinking, you address the approach, and then you address the behavioral pattern. Okay. Which the behavioral pattern is what you're coaching. That third thing is what you're actually coaching. The first two things, it could be in a Google Doc and call it a course. You don't need a course system. Forget about having a course system, a fancy website and all your videos just orderly and professional. Your course can be one Google Doc with a Loom video where you're talking 2 to 3 minutes about these first two things, and then telling them, I'm going to coach you in this behavioral thing going forward. It's all in one Google Doc. You got the Loom video, you got a few notes, and then you got your Coachdotme, page for that habit.
So let me pull it back for folks. So if I'm hearing you right, you think of coaching as the whole bundle of activities that a coach might use to help a client make a behavior change.
Yeah.
So it can be, as you said, something pre-prepared, whether it's a video or a document or whatever, but something that you've pre-prepared to help that client adopt the methodology, right?
Yeah, get in the room, mentally and otherwise. You got to get them in the room.
Yes. Yeah. So you're combining some sort of a front-loaded deliverable, whatever format that might be could vary, and you don't really have a strong opinion on that. Each coach could do it for themselves, but you're going to front load the conversation with something for the client. Then you're going to hook them into a rhythm, a cadence of interaction with you through the chat coaching that underlies. I think it sounds like what you offer, you include that as a component.
Like, okay, so let's I like where you're going with this. So let's break this down and let's mastermind in like 5 minutes a 0 to 10K coaching business with Coachdotme as the foundation. Okay. So the first thing you've got to do is you got to go through the what for whom. You've got to go through and I suggest you go through the certified coaching, not to necessarily be certified, though it helps you to have that little badge. It's just a little extra credential you can put in your coach profile and then also on LinkedIn. But you're actually going to get to clients faster. You're going to get to the client conversation faster because nothing takes the place of being in the conversation with the client.
Right.
Okay. Even if you're trembling, you're scared to death, you don't know what to say next, you need to be in that conversation. Okay. And the first clients will be forgiving. Okay. So you want to mess up. You want to mess up when it has less impact on people. You don't want to mess people's lives up a year into the game. So you mess them up in the first, 2 or 3 weeks, and then, because those clients, they're kind of taking the chance anyway. They already know that you brand new.
All right, I love this, and we may run long if we have to.
Okay,
but so I'm a new coach. I'm getting in.
Yeah.
Where do you start?
So the first thing you've got to do is, I think you've got to first of all go through that certification so that you can. Not like I said, so that you can get into conversations faster and you have a framework to follow in the actual coaching. So you don't take on the burden of somebody's life. You take on the responsibility of the framework, of supporting the framework and letting the framework do its work. Okay. So that's a longer conversation that Kendra's already covering in her conversation in the certification.
But you said, and I agree, you got to pick one. You got to pick one habit. So
that's right. Well, the question is, how do you pick the habit? See, this is a thing. So once you do the what for whom, you've got to ask yourself, okay, what are the fears? What are the frustrations? What are the desires and the dreams of that whom?
All right. So I'm gonna give you one, and we're just gonna role play it.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah. Okay.
So let's take new dads. So let's take dads with kids that are elementary school age. So kids are
Yeah.
in school, but still really demanding. And so these dads are feeling they want to succeed at work. They want to be a great husband or partner, and they want to be a great father. And they're feeling, man, this is just a really, really hard thing to do.
Yeah,
So,
this is a great example, because there's a lot of remote fathers. So I would niche it down even further. I would say I'm gonna coach dads who've been divorced, who
okay.
feel like failures. They feel like they just messed that child's life up. They might as well have dropped that child on his head at 1 year old, because it's the same impact of what's happening. They're crazy. They're off the chain. They're really not doing what they need to do. And it's all my fault. Okay. Because I've actually coached a man recently. This is what he was saying. He said, I messed him up. I dropped the ball. It was my fault. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, it was super negative. Okay. But you need to understand that. So that then what I came up with is I came up with love touches, the love touch habit. I said, okay, we're going to practice the love touch habit. Once a day, you're going to love touch somebody. And at least 3 times a week, you're going to love touch your child. So you're going to send them a text. You're going to send them a text, blah, 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 blah. This is a great example, by the way, because I got it right on the top of my head. Because I know exactly what the situation is. Okay. Now, so you pick that one habit. Now, the next thing that you do is you ask yourself, what is it that is important for the person to believe? What is it important for the person? How is it important for them to approach it? See, you can't do the love touch on the phone with a 12-year-old or 8-year-old, because they don't want to talk to you. They on the texts, they on the Snapchats, they on the TikToks. Okay, so if you ain't on TikTok, you don't exist for the 8-year-old. Okay, so you got to use text. That's the approach. Okay, now that creates a big problem, by the way, for a 40-year-old dad. That creates a big problem. We're going to solve that in a moment. But then you say, what's the keystone habit? Well, the behavioral pattern is a love touch. In other words, you begin with the smallest version of the thing. Remember that one tooth? That's the one tooth principle. Okay. So once you do that, you say, I'm going to coach this one habit. Now what you do is you write up or you talk up one page that says, this is the beliefs that's going to support you. This is the shift. Because anytime they shift the belief, they begin to shift their self-identity, how they see themselves. And what I'll usually have a client do is so tell me how you think about yourself in this area. It's usually something negative, and it's usually attached with some significant emotional experience where the child said to the father, you're a failure, I hate you, and I don't want to ever see you again. Okay, when he's divorced and walking out with all his belongings, so he's got that in his mind playing over and over again. So what you got to do is you got to say, okay, let's rewrite that. Let's change the meaning of that thing. This is a little bit deeper coaching, but often I find that they got this one thing in their mind that's hung on the ledge, hung on the hook in their mind that makes them bad.
So how do you, and I don't know if this thing's going to cut us off at an hour, so I want to get a few, and I'm going to try to extend it, but just in case, how does the coach think about setting that up in terms of all of the elements of the package that they need to support that client?
Got it. So do it on a Google Doc. Think about 3 pillars. Think about three facets. You could even say to people, so we find that there's 3 areas that when you shift those areas, it changes your life. So it's your thinking. So how are you thinking about this? What is the significant emotional experience? What's the thing that's hung on? What is your record stuck on? That your record gets stuck and it keep repeating that same thing. That's a negative or stuck and stop point for you.
But how do you present that? Is that a freebie that you give? Is that something you give early in the chat coaching?
Yeah.
Like how do you set that up as a coach
Okay.
How do you design what you're getting paid for lack of a better
That's
word?
a great question. That's a great question. How do you bridge getting paid?
Yeah.
So all of this stuff that I'm talking about, you prepare it in advance, but how you get paid specifically? I think Twitter is arguably the best platform on the internet right now to actually enroll clients. Why do I say that? Because see, on
but what are you enrolling them in? I don't mean to cut you off, but what I want to get to, because I love where you're going.
I'm enrolling them in that core habit or the core package that you have set up in Coachdotme. So you set up a package in Coachdotme that corresponds with the habit.
And are you doing it at the $25 a week, $87 a month, or are you charging something different?
That's a drop down.
Okay.
That's your drop down. So I would lead with the package.
Okay.
And I would do the package X number of dollars, and it includes a certain period of time. So that because people still think in terms of time, but you don't want them thinking in terms of hours. You don't
charge at that rate. You would say charge, let's pick a number, let's say $250 or $300, and
for 90 days.
For 90 days, and they're going to get this deliverable, this mindset Google Doc. They're going to get some videos.
They're going to get some conversations with you.
Okay.
And then they're going to get the habit coaching. They're going to get a month of the habit coaching in there as well, or 3 months in this case for 90 days. But then the transition is to the recurring standard habit amount. Okay. So you might have them paying $25 a week on a recurring basis, or, $100 a month, 80 something a month. So what you're actually preparing is you're preparing the following things. You're preparing your framework, which let's think of that as your micro course.
Right.
Your micro course is the thinking, the approach, and the habit, and what people need to have as a prerequisite for that. That could be one page with 2 or 3 little short videos explaining each point in Loom.
I love it. Let's talk about the math. Let's talk about the math right quick. So we used our 10,000 a month example.
Yeah.
And I think the one thing that folks forget, and I love this is where you went with Twitter, that if you're bringing the clients yourself, Coachdotme only charges you 5% basically for your credit card fees and your administration. So you're keeping 95% of your revenue, as long as you're doing the marketing to bring your own clients. So let's say,
and the fear, by the way, is that bringing them to Coachdotme, they're going to find some other coach that's better than you. Okay. And so that's the fear in their mind. But the truth of it is that you'll be the only coach coaching a specific kind of client on Coachdotme that has what we are talking about right now. And it doesn't take a long time. There's probably 3 hours of preparation in this.
Okay. But let's talk about the number of clients. 3
hours to put it together. Okay.
So for your 90-day intro package, what do you typically charge?
So let's say, for example, I think $300 is an all-day long price when you're working with a very specific client. So you need 33 of those clients to make $10,000.
And that's all brand new. That's your first month. You got to count to 33. So one a day. Basically, if you sign up a person a day, you're.
Well, I think people feel like they can't do that. So let's say 90 days. Over a 90-day period of time, you're going to get 30 clients. Okay. And most of those clients, by the way, are going to come toward the end of the 90 days. So basically, about every 3 days, you are getting one client in the conventional math, but that's not really how it works. You may get no clients for the first 30 days, but you have created the right environment that attracts clients.
Okay.
See, it's a deeper conversation, but what you
I want to keep going, but just in case this cuts me off.
Yeah.
So you started there, and then let's say of those initial 30, 35 clients, how many of them stay on?
About a third. About a third are going to stay with you on a reoccurring basis. And that's where you build your 10K a month. See, your monthly money your monthly money, you should think of recurring revenue to drive your coaching business versus just new clients. What I'm really showing you is going to position you for recurring revenue. So for example, if a third of those clients are now going to stick, and the reason they're going to stick is because they're not, okay, this is going to sound strange, but they're not paying you $80 a month for the habit. They're paying you $80 a month for what you built up and positioned in the first 90 days. They are now in the mastermind. They are now in a situation where they will have access to you and your thinking and your coaching and your process on an ongoing basis, because there are sister habits to every keystone habit. So when you really look at it, you'll say, okay, so I know that the person has to, first of all, make priorities, set priorities for their day. Then I know there's a next obvious habit that is like a sister habit of that one that they stack. And then there's the next one. And there's usually 3 habits that they stack before they're ready to move on to bigger conversations.
Okay. So a third of them. So we had, let's just go with round numbers. Let's say we had 30. We had 30 folks signed up in our first 90 days.
And
let's say it took 6 months to get our first 30 folks. It doesn't really matter, but 30 folks that we initially worked with is a great initial sample size. So
and let me put something in there, what you just said. You got to accept the fact that it takes the time it takes. This is a breakthrough for you right here, because a lot of people won't do the micro baby steps today because they need money today, and they've got the pressure and the stress that's choking them out in the moment. So they're not doing the little micro baby steps that 90 days from now are not 5 new things that you do, but it's a 500% difference in your money and your attractiveness in the marketplace. So you got to accept the fact that it takes the time it takes. The moment you do that, things speed up. That's the paradox.
And so if they set the goal as, I want to have 30 new client interactions to learn from, right? Yeah. That changes the conversation. We got to the 30 by working backwards, right? 10 divided by 300, 10K divided by $300 is how we got to the 30. But once we do that math, we're not thinking about the 10K anymore. We're thinking about 30 human beings that we want to be in conversation with and hopefully have an impact on and learn from, right? Just being able to interact with 30 people is a huge benefit as a coach, because they're going to help you find your next step. So
exactly.
Let's stay with the math. We got 30 clients, we got 30 folks that have paid us $300 over the course of however many months. Mm-hmm. And then now what's the next thing that we're going to offer? What's the next package we're going to offer to these folks?
Well, the next thing you're going to offer them is you're going to offer them to go into the ongoing coaching.
Okay. And what are you going to price that at, hypothetically?
Just whatever it is in the app.
So let's say $100 a month.
It's $100 a month, just whatever it is in the app. But let me give you the keys to why they stick, because this is what messes people up. They don't realize that to stay in the conversation with you is worth multiples of the $100 if you position it correctly up front. So when I talk about positioning it, this is onboarding. Nobody talks about this in the coaching world. But you've got to have correct onboarding as a coach to cause them to stick. And onboarding is not just that welcome message that you get from Coachdotme. The onboarding is a process. To what you're doing is you're saying you're having them set their goals. So your little 3 to 5 point pre-coaching questionnaire, where the whole purpose of the pre-coaching questionnaire is to pre-frame the coaching experience and to let them know the path of growth with you. what are they really getting into, and what is the payoff in their life? What is the ROI? Okay, so what I've started doing is I've told people, look, the ROI is X in 90 days. Okay, and then on the unlikely event that we don't get there, I'm going to keep coaching you for free until we do. Well, that's an irresistible offer. They're like, what? No other coach is saying that.
But
What's going on here?
Let's put the math behind that, because I think folks will hear us more when they understand how we think about the math. So we started, our first goal was 30 people.
30 people.
And those 30 people roughly got us $10,000 in initial services, which is okay, great. A lot of coaches get there. And then now we're saying a third of that, 10 of those folks are gonna convert and buy $100 a month. So now,
which is $1,000, $1,000 recurring revenue.
Yeah,
because that's what you're really building. You're building the recurring revenue, because see, 3 cycles in, you're at $3,000. That pays your bills.
Yes, that's where I was trying to go. That's
6 cycles in, you're at $6,000. Play the math out, and you can see that within a year, you're at $10K a month recurring revenue. See, nobody talks about coaching like this. They don't think, oh, this little funky platform, I'm going to charge you $80. No, this ain't going to work. Okay, because everybody's saying big ticket, big ticket, big ticket. Well, okay, so here's another elephant in the room. Oh, it's a recession time now. People aren't going to buy coaching. Well, it's the time when they buy coaching more.
Yeah.
Okay, because all a recession is a decreased economic activity. Well, the way you solve it is you increase your economic activity. So if you are like, we'll go back to Twitter. The reason I love Twitter is because people go to LinkedIn to verify you. They go to Twitter to talk to you. Okay, so if you talk to people on Twitter, okay, and you just, let's say, because I know these numbers are real, and you DM 15 people a day, you're going to get a client in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, you're going to have your first client, guaranteed. If you created the environment on Twitter that makes you attractive. You see, so it's one habit, one platform where you can actually talk to people versus just post into the social ethosphere. Okay. Forget about, now, if you're a fitness person, I'll give you a link. I'll give you Instagram. But all of my fitness influencers are telling me Instagram is dead. They just done messed up the whole program over there. But see, nobody's talking about that with Twitter. Everybody is sleeping on Twitter.
And I think it's whatever, I think any of them can work, to be honest. It's whatever the coach can do consistently. And like you said, the coach is willing to set the environment. I think you can probably do it on Facebook, particularly if your target age is older. You can probably achieve it anywhere. The search on Twitter and the conversation, particularly if it's productivity, I'll give you hands down much less resistance there. But the point being,
it's one platform.
Yes, one platform to deliver the services, one platform to nurture the conversations. And just being
one
consistent.
Habit,
yes,
one platform, one irresistible offer,
and aim for 30 people, and it might take you 100 days to get those first 30 people. But put your head down, decide on your, as you said, decide on your area and focus on that, on creating that conversation for 100 days. You should have somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 folks, give or take.
Oh, it's not should. You absolutely will. And here's the thing, because I wrote my email list earlier today. I said, I had this conversation at Big Tape about 0 to 10K. I said, I'm gonna find 3 people. It's 3 of you that are willing to 3x the ROI of your investment. I said, okay, let's say I charge you $2,500 for this. For 90 days. I'm going to guarantee to get you to 10 grand. And I'm going to do it in public so that it's a win-win-win. Or if I fail, I'm ruined. I wrote it just like that. I said, if I fail, I'm ruined. I said, so I want 3 of you to step up, pay me the $2,500 on that basis, and allow me to do everything in public. So that if I fail, I'm put to an open shame.
And then he could just shut up, Ramon, go on off to wherever old coaches go. So, but I know it'll work. Why? Because if you invest 1 hour a day, this is why I'm so on Twitter. Now, if you're going to be on Facebook, by the way, what you're looking for really on social media is underpriced attention. Yep. That's what you're really looking for. You're looking for the place where you can put a little bit of effort in and get a lot of traction, but then you can get into a conversation with the person faster. Okay. So Twitter is at the top of my list. They verify you on LinkedIn. So you need to repurpose to LinkedIn. And then you might be a YouTuber. You might be a Facebooker. If you're going to do Facebook pages. Mm-hmm. Facebook pages are underpriced attention right now. People are missing the boat on that. YouTube shorts, the short videos is underpriced attention right now. People are missing the boat on that. Because see, remember, everybody went Exodus after that iPhone scare. You may not know the technology, right. But when they killed the cookie, everybody went scared. So the price of anything in the ad space went down dramatically. All the other people were running scared. And I was like, well, I don't buy ads, but if you buy ads, now is the time to buy ads.
Right. But the point being that doing what for whom, figuring out who you want to serve, right? Mm-hmm. Who do you get fired up about serving that you can design one package, one offer of somebody you're fired up at serving, that you know what that first step is, right? Mm-hmm. You've done the homework to figure out, okay, what's the love touch for a new dad? What's the one thing for your client that will make a difference? You've done your homework, you know that, and now you're going to go have lots of conversations about that, not about your coaching, right? You're going to have lots of conversations about
the problem.
Yes, about what your clients care about, and you're going to have a very clear offer that provides support that you're going to funnel them into. And we use the example of 30 people at $300. Adjust either one of those to your liking, but I think that's a very most coaches could pick that and roll and be successful. And then create $100 a month ongoing offer that a third of your folks will roll into, and just repeat that pipeline.
Exactly. Work that until you've got 10 grand a month recurring revenue. It will change your life forever. So there's a couple of things in there, a couple of little distinctions in there that I want to draw to the surface. Remember I told you about the father, what the love touch thing. Well, what I didn't tell you is that there's an ancillary product in there with the love touches is a micro product, a PDF ebook that you can also just sell as a one-off in a bunch of different places with a video that gives instructions. Because I don't know about you, but when it comes to texting, I might not know what to say.
Right.
So you can give me 101 text templates, love touch templates, prompts that will give me 100 prompts that I can now prompt out and share. That's a product, a standalone product that you can sell all day long on Gumroad, on Udemy. You can put it up on Udemy, which this is what I talk about when I say create the environment where people are looking for you. I only want to work with people who are looking for me.
And so if a dad actually finds you on Gumroad and buys your $19 or $29,
then it's pointed back to the coach. Then
they're going to find you in the coaching, and the cycle begins. And the way you get your ideas for those products is being in conversations with your clients to find out. And you could have another one, how to use TikTok, for dads that want to interact with their kids, or how to
make a TikTok with your child, how to make a TikTok with your child. Or now, so all of these things. Now, what's your freebie? Because people always want to know, well, what's the freebie? And most people get the freebie wrong, because the cycle from Twitter is they go from Twitter to your email list to a conversation. The whole purpose of the the freebie is to prove your competence, your understanding of the true problem, and then to sell the initial conversation with you. That's the whole purpose. So for a freebie, the best freebie in the world for a coach is a checklist. So the checklist is for the dad, for example. The checklist is this is the 5-point unbreakable bond checklist, that whether you're divorced, whether you're separated, or you just have been an absentee dad from overworking, I'm gonna show you how you're gonna create this is the 5 steps to create an unbreakable bond with your child that lasts forever. Woo, what dad doesn't want that?
Right.
What dad doesn't want to be seen as the hero to their child, even though they feel like they've been a miserable failure? Address that in your freebie. So now they go get your freebie. The best way to get the freebies on Twitter right now is not just the link in the location setting, which is absolutely what you should be doing, but it's also auto DMs. So that when you are tweeting something, tweet a thread targeting that dad that's giving very specific information about how to have a tough conversation with your child when they hate you. Do a thread, a Twitter thread, okay? It's just like a little micro article broken into 6 pieces, individual things. At the end of that, say, hey, if you want to get my unbreakable bond checklist to have an unbreakable bond, or you want to have the make your child love you forever checklist, then just comment and make sure you're following me, and I'm going to DM you the checklist. Now, you don't DM the checklist right away. You did DM them a link to a page, simple, ugly, 1 page. Only thing they can do is that one thing, to put in their email address, email only, and then they get the checklist. Now you got them in your email sequence. Send them 3 or 4 emails focused on the frustrations, the fears, the desires, the dreams. And in that second or third email, say, hey, by the way, have a conversation with me. Let's just jump on Zoom. Let's just jump on Zoom, and we're going to create a 90-day make it back better relationship with your child plan. Then you could go with me as your coach, or you can go it alone. And actually coach them in the conversation, and then say, listen, what I've got here is I've got a 90-day program. It's just $300, okay? And in this, you're going to get this, 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 and this. And oh, by the way, I'm selling 100 prompts of what to do to create love touches with your child over on Gumroad. You can see it over there. Always make the price high. My products at Gumroad are all $100.
Okay.
Okay. I don't care about selling them. I just want people to know, that's $100.
Okay.
I'll throw that in as a bonus. I'll give you that as a bonus. And then for the first 90 days, we're just going to focus on this. And then at that point, we're going to huddle up and make a determination on the best way to go forward. See how I'm just pre-framing that. I'm pre-framing the opportunity with that particular client. And I can tell you, if you talk to 5 people like that, and you've created the right environment on the platform that you're focused on, you're going to get 1 or 2 people every single time.
Okay. So if we're working our math and we wanted 30 people as our initial cohort of clients.
That's right.
And 1 or 2
you got to talk to 100 people.
Yep. You got to talk to 100 people, 150 people to get that initial batch of 30. And then
people say, oh my God, Ramon, that is so many. Let's do the math. Remember I told you you're going to do 15 DMs a day. 15 DMs a day times 5 is 75 DMs. Okay. Times 4 in a month, you've done 300 DMs.
That's a week.
You're going to
15. Yeah. That's the 300 a week. Yeah. So
that's 300. Well, it's 300 in a month.
Okay.
Because it's 15 a day.
Oh, 15 a day. Got it.
15 a day. You're going to have 3. And all of this, the whole marketing plan takes you an hour a day. It takes you an hour to 90 minutes a day. And you block it out on your calendar as an appointment with yourself. And you do that every day. And everybody I've ever taught this has succeeded. Not everybody got to the 10 grand in the first 90 days. Some of them, it took them like 120 days. Some of just in total transparency. Some of them, it took them 6 months. But none of them had got that result on their own. So they were like, yeah, keep coaching me. Like, I don't want my money back.
But again, none of this is rocket science. Somebody could map this out, but you've just got to, as a coach, you've got to be consistent. As a business builder, you've got to be consistent in giving our business an hour of attention, and in being clear on who our clients are. Because if you keep changing your clients, you restart the clock.
Exactly.
Right? I think that's the thing. Every time you change who you want your client to be and who you're in conversation with, you restart the clock.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And so if you're changing that often, you're never getting enough volume to get those initial 30 clients, which means you didn't have your initial 150 conversations, which means you didn't send your 900 DMs. Right.
Yeah.
That's the math on that.
What happens is if 300 DMs a month translates, if you are focused and you've created the right environment in your platform. And this is something that almost nobody talks about. They talk about what to tweet, when to tweet. None of that really matter. How to say it. You know, they got 50-page ebooks on how to write a tweet. And all of that's useful. But at the end of the day, there's a few basic things that you got to do, whatever it is on that platform. And then you got to be consistent in actually connecting with people. And if you are, and you created the right environment, you'll get 50 to 75 of those people to respond to you and move to the next step. And I don't even move them to email. I move them to email on auto DMs. But when I'm actually talking to people in the DM, just because they've reached out to me or they've responded to my outbound DM, I'm moving them directly to a call.
Okay.
I'm moving them directly to a call, and we're having that. And the call, by the way, is not you selling them. It's about you coaching them through an interview process that ends up in a game plan for them to move forward. And it's really, really checklist simple for you as a coach to be able to do it. And that's really how you can go from 0 to 10K a month with Coachdotme, even if you can't get a client in the first 30 days. Like, you got to stop thinking about, you got to realize, you got to shift your mindset up front and say, okay, I accept the fact that success takes the time it takes. Just get in your mind and say, okay, it's going to take 3 years. Okay, I'm just throwing that number out there. But let's just say it's going to take 3 years. Once you get that pressure off of you, it speeds the process up.
Yep.
Then the second thing that you begin to do is you say, okay, the best defense is offense. So if the thing ain't working, I'm not going to sit here and beat myself up. I'm going to learn. I'm going to listen, I'm going to learn, and I'm going to keep taking the action, and I'm going to keep it. This is why you have to be in a conversation with a coach, because you have to be in a conversation with the community. See, one of my highest hopes at Coachdotme, and we're talking to our folks. This is a family conversation right here. 99% of the stuff that we're talking about in Discord, we just need to stop. Okay? Listen, you don't have to be a great coach. Just memorize the framework. Just whatever was in the certification, just copy and paste the questions. You see them and work them questions for your thing. Okay. And then get the preparation that we talked about. And then 1 hour to 90 minutes per day, work the plan. And then bring questions to Discord when you get stuck or stopped.
Yep.
You hit a wall.
Yep.
Report successes. See, I don't hear people in Discord saying, I got a client today. I don't hear people in Discord saying, somebody moved from the $300 plan to the ongoing plan. I don't hear people in Discord with a number by their name that says 0/30.
Oh, I love it.
4-30. Get your 30 clients.
I love it.
Because anything else respectfully, I know there's some coaching purists. I know there's some people who like to delve into the science and all of that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, knowing about all of that stuff ain't cash. Getting likes on your thing ain't cash. Showing up in the Discord to post your little thing that you post, hoping to get, some support, some claps. Claps ain't cash. Okay. You've got to shift your mindset to where you say, I'm in this business here to help people and to be able to have a living, a lifestyle, not a living, a lifestyle, a freedom lifestyle as a coach. Okay. I'm changing my whole focus because I realized when I'm listening to clients, I said, man, I want to do this thing here. They've said, no, I want to do this thing over here. I said, do this thing here. No, I want to do this thing. Your clients are telling you what they want from you, but it don't fit your ego.
Right.
It doesn't fit how you want to be seen. It doesn't fit how you want to show up. And I recognize that Coachdotme for a lot of people is a side hustle. God bless you. God bless you. Maybe I'm not talking to you. But for those of you who feel like coaching is your life's work, it's your calling, it's the thing that you were put here on the earth to do, it's time to level up. It's time to level up your thinking. It's time to level up your strategy. And it's time to level up what you do daily. Because when you do, I promise you that over the next 90 to 120 days, whether it's now when everybody's waking up and want to change their life, or when it's January and everybody is desperate to change their life because they've got the external forces of the negativity in the marketplace. They've got the internal force of not having accomplished what they wanted to accomplish in 2022. And they've got the new energy of the new year. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So I just want to throw out a challenge to everyone, because this is a family conversation. I want to throw out a challenge to everyone to get in that mode. Mm-hmm. Get in the mode. Who is the 10,000 club in Coachdotme? See, I took a whole lot of my money off the platform, quite frankly, because I was doing this kind of jiggy stuff that I've been showing you in the last hour, 90 minutes. But now I'm coming back on Coachdotme and I'm going to take over the platform. I'm going to dominate my habit. Okay. And I'm going to be, I'm going to bring 10,000 club.
I love it.
Mastermind. You need to set that up. Set it up in Discord.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
And, whether it's the mastermind we do, you got to pay some money. Give Kendra some money. But that secret Discord that you can't get in.
Well, I'm just thinking we need to set up a new training program, and I like it. I like 10, it. I was
10K
thinking
club.
I was thinking first 30, but you're right. 10K club.
10K club. I want 10K. Right. If I can get that from 20 clients, great. 10 clients, even better.
Good point. So we'll have to work on this. Well, Ramon, I love it. I love that you were willing to both go philosophical and get gritty, in how we set up these packages and what the flow looks like. Hopefully some folks hung in there with us. I know we ran long, but I think it was absolutely worth it. Pretty sure the recording is on track. So hopefully folks are watching this. Go jump in the Discord. Let us know if you would like us to continue training and conversations and support along these lines. I think we'll find a way to make it happen if there are coaches that are interested in doing it. So thank you, Ramon. I appreciate you.
And I'd love it if everybody could go into Discord or go into social media and tag Coachdotme on Twitter and just let I'd love to hear, what did you like best about this AMA today? What did you like best? What's that one little thing that you said, oh yeah, that was good right there. I'm going to apply that. I'm going to figure out a way to integrate that into my thinking and my action. What did I like best? And if you can recommend Coachdotme to other people, I would appreciate you saying so. Link them up, not just to your profile, but use your referral code to link up to the directory. See, I don't really care what coach gets hired. I'm going to get paid anyway.
Right. Well, that's a whole nother conversation.
But I know you talk about that.
And actually, we've got Cherry on next week, and Cherry is masterful at that. So we'll dive into that on our AMA next week with Cherry. Well, Ramon,
awesome.
I love you. This has been fantastic.
It's been beautiful. Thank you for having me.
All right.
All right.
We'll see you guys next week.